Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Anthony with Pro Dealer Secrets. Today I have a video for you titled Useful Tools for Flipping Cars. And I'm just going to go over some of the most common tools and items that I use to flip cars with that are going to help you quite a bit on your journey. First, this is actually very important. This is something I use to value cars, and a lot of you guys are of course familiar with Blue Book values and Kelly Blue Book and NADA, stuff like that. Some dealers are pretty set on MMR, which actually is very close to this number. And what Black Book is it's a congregation of wholesale cash values. They take these numbers, if I remember correctly, they compile these numbers from real live deals across the country, but also from real auction values or real auction results. So I have found it to be, from what I do, the absolute closest, most accurate number. And let me give you a little peek at what I'm talking about in terms of a Black Book value. So in my experience, and I've had a lot of vehicles, I went through and I took vehicles and what we actually sold them for versus what we priced them at, which usually, it was retail at a certain point. And then Black Book always really seemed to match up with what we actually got for the vehicle. So let me give you an example. A vehicle we actually have on the lot right now. I know. So I took this RX 350 and trade this one. Yep. Okay. So everybody thinks these are so amazing. You know what the RX 350 is, the SUV. So retail value will tell you it's worth, $8,000 to $10,000. Sure. But for me, I look at this number here. This tells me that, hey, you're probably going to get $6,500 cash out of it. This is the ACV value. This is the actual cash value. And that is proven to be very accurate. I would expect to sell this car for $6,000 to $6,500. So that is a peek. We're going to go over that. First, let's get started what Black Book is. It is more indicative of market value and cash values than Blue Book. This is something that no one's really going to teach you, and you're not going to find this information anywhere, I promise. Trust me, I had to find this out on my own. No one taught me. I just happened to stumble across it because what I found out was these wholesale values, they're used by CarMax, new car dealers, etc. They use these numbers to value trade-ins from customers bringing cars in. Now with CarMax, when they make your low ball offer, what people seem to perceive it as a low ball offer, they're using these numbers. They are going into Black Book and they are like, hey, so there's a wholesale number right here. What is a clean wholesale? That is $6,750. The average is $53, so they may offer you $6,000 if it's pretty nice. Because if they say $6,000, they know that they can probably get $6,000 to $6,500 at the auction. I'm going to tell you why this number is a core reason why when you go to the auction and you're thinking like, man, how are these prices so high? What the hell's going on? Well, this number will explain that. So these are used by wholesalers. The dealers that actually run cars through the auction and, they buy cars and then they sell them at the auction locally. They're used by them to know what they can expect to sell their inventory for. Now, the cool thing is, cash sellers like you and I, we can use it to know our worst case scenario and what someone is actually willing to pay in cash. This number is very particularly useful with cars over $5,000. Now, when it's under $4,000, I find that it's not very accurate because there's a lot of skewed data. For instance, a car that sells for $1,000 at the auction might have major problems. So it pulls the total average down. But when you have cars over $5,000, this number is a pretty good guide from what I found. Not perfect, but nothing is. So what I do is I use an app called AutoNeek to access mobile Black Book values, and I use my VIN scanner on my phone. It pops up as an app, and you can scan the VIN number, barcode. You can also integrate auto check and Carfax, which I have done, and it is cheaper than going directly through the Black Book official app, which is actually kind of slow and buggy too. Now, if you don't want to use AutoNeek, there are some multiple alternatives. One of them is called Laser Appraiser. There's one called VinQ. I've never used either, but those are a couple options. And here is a look at AutoNeek. Now, the cool thing is it's actually going to look the exact same on your phone, except just shrunken down. This is what it'll look like on your phone. Exactly. You know, you can scan your VIN number, not on the computer, obviously. You can actually find vehicles around you for sale. You know, like here's one I like to look for is a Cobra. If we don't look in a 250-mile radius, there is one in Carrollton, Texas. There's two of them actually. Look at that. So you can actually search auctions for specific models if you specialize in a certain vehicle. And you can actually go and look at your vehicles. You can categorize them by lists, purchase, wish list, whatnot. And when you actually go look at the vehicle, let's see. Here's one that we just sold, and this is a prime example. Because I know that people think these Tauruses are, you know, they try to sell them pretty high. This one is a 2011 with 185,000 miles. And for us, we sold this one for, I want to say it's $4,400. Now, your average retail is going to tell you that it's worth $55,000, and most people will look at that number and be like, man, I can sell it for $55,000 to $7,000. I'm going to make a lot of money. No, that was not the case, and that is not the case. This number right here is indicative of what you will actually get. For me, when I bought this car, I knew that my worst case scenario was $4,000, and that's what I expected to sell it for. We actually got a little more, so I was happy. But yeah, I mean, pretty much this is the number that I go off of. When I buy this vehicle, I think to myself, I'm going to sell this for $4,000, so I need to pay and have no more than $3,000 total cost. And that's what we did. And you can also look at the trade-in numbers. You know, this is what it's going to show you that you can expect for it to sell for. And this is where you start to understand that, hey, this is why cars seem to go higher than I can sell them for, because the wholesale values right here, this is what they should sell for at the auction. If it's super clean, you know you can expect to see it sell for $4,500 to $38,000. 38 to 45, and that seems to be extremely accurate. But you know, here we're looking at it like, hey, we're gonna sell it for $4,000. Man, these guys are paying more than I can sell it for. Well, that's just how it goes. I mean, they're working off of these retail numbers, you know, 55 to 7,000. Now, especially a lot of buyer pay here's, they pay a lot because they can charge whatever they want. But this is why you see these vehicles going for higher than what we perceive them to be worth, because the retail values are higher than the actual ACV cash value. Now, a lot of us know what this is intuitively, but for me, you know, selling so many cars and having an app to look at when I buy a vehicle at the auction helps me out a ton, and I know it'll help you out too. That's something that, you know, obviously this isn't a pitch, but it's made a big difference for me. Because also I look at my Carfax, auto check, and whatnot. And you can search the run lists of your local auctions. You can go here. You can search, you know, your local auction and see their run list. Let's see, Friday, Lane A. You know, boom. They already have it all preloaded. Not every auction, but, you know, like Odessa, Mannheim, a lot of the big ones, they do. KBB. Private party is a good, cheap, free alternative also, because for me, I pay $100 a month for AutoNeek, and it's worth it for me. But, you know, if you're just flipping a car or two here and there, guys, you know, KBB private party is decently close. What you want to do is, when you have that private party number, just assume a little lower. And I'll give you an example. I did this example a while back, and I was kind of surprised. So remember this Ford Taurus right here that we just looked at? Let's price it out on Kelley Blue Book, and if I remember correctly, it'll show like $800 to $1,000 higher. $2011 Ford Taurus. Now this one was just Pretty much a base model. It just had cloth, nothing special. Man, I cannot type today. So private party is going to be a good number to use as your top uses your top limit, like the absolute best case scenario typically. And what it's actually going to be is probably a little bit less. I always do good condition, very good. If you use good condition, it gives you that much more of a safety buffer. And as private party, you'll see a lot of times people will price their car for private party, and for me, in my experience, that's usually the most that you can get on a typical vehicle. All right, so here we are. Yeah, the private party value comes in at $41.55. Now remember, ours over here was $4,025, so it's pretty close. Now it's going to tell you this range right here, 33 to 49. Now this top number is the one that you want to disregard. You know, this is like your best case scenario. If this car was like immaculate, lower mileage, desirable, yeah, we can maybe expect to get $5,000 out of it. But I'm going to be planning on $41,000 to $4,000. That's just what I know. This is telling me, and this is what Black Book is telling me. And if you go off of that number, you're going to typically be pretty safe. You're going to protect your risk and also know what to expect to make on it. All right, so I will tell you that the accuracy of this Black Book number, and sometimes Kelley Blue Book too, I've noticed, it's not as accurate under $4,000. This is when your experience and knowledge of the market really makes a difference. This is what sets you apart, guys. I've been telling you every video to know the market, and this is where it pays off. Because when you have a vehicle, and let's just say that Kelley Blue Book tells us it's worth $1,100. We get people all the time. You know, we just sold a 1998 Ford Taurus with 50,000 miles. We sold it for $2,500, and someone came in and tried to tell us that, hey, the Kelley Blue Book on this car is $1,200. And looked him right in the face. I was like, hey man, on the market, if you find a car like this that's in perfect condition, 50,000 miles for $1,200, you tell me and I'll buy every single one of them, because I know for a fact in our market there is not a better lower mileage car under $3,500 in our area. So I'm going off of market value here. For $2,500, this car is an absolute steal. You're looking at a book value that tells you nothing. It tells you the theoretical value of an old car. I'm telling you the market value of a vehicle with 50,000 original miles with no problems, no issues, everything works, immaculate condition, is way more than $2,500, but you're getting a steal. And you know, the dude, he started to understand, because I told him, like, hey look, we're looking at market value, the mileage, the condition. You will not find a better vehicle, I promise. So when you have cars under 4,000, that's going to be an issue, because a lot of the data is skewed downwards, and you might think that, hey, KBB says this car is worth $2,500 for like a newer, higher mileage vehicle, but it might actually be worth a little more, and especially like on a truck. Now the opposite can happen for like diesel trucks. I've found that, like, you know, mid 2000s diesel trucks, they'll be way overvalued on these apps. So that's just when you got to use common sense. I mean, use them as a guide, but use these numbers not as the gospel, but as a guide to supplement what you already know. Now, when you have cars over 5,000, if you're in that market, this will help you minimize those risks by bringing you down to earth. Instead of you thinking that this car is worth 7,000 retail and then getting your hopes up, it'll help you kind of bring your expectations down to reality, like 4,500 or so.